everyone, this is the Free American Press with your host Alexander Horat. So I'm going to be covering some big breaking news that sanctions have been lifted. But before I get into it, if you could please subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, that would be really appreciated. So we've seen recently how President Biden and their Communist Party have basically started putting sanctions on the Russian government because of their invasion of Ukraine. But in reality, I think it's almost like the United States is endorsing what's going on, in the Ukrainian war and everything. I think it was all planned because if this was really such a good ally of the United States, you would have thought that he would have made actual, real sanctions, you know, much harder sanctions than he did. And at the same time, it's just a joke because we're seeing all these sanctions with all these other supposed enemies being lifted across the world. And I really think the United States really wanted Russia to invade Ukraine because this is all part of a global plan, like I've been saying earlier. But right now, we're seeing right here. So Iran will enrich its uranium to 20%, even if nuke deal revived, sanctions lifted. So they're getting rid of their sanctions. They got rid of their Iranian sanctions. Isn't that pretty funny, everyone? This is supposed to be one of our huge enemies, and we're lifting the sanctions on their country very quickly after we impose them because we're going to bring them to their knees, but we're just going to lift them now all of a sudden. And we see the same thing happening in one of our worst enemies countries. They're actually lifting sanctions in Afghanistan right now, uh, basically here it is. U.S. eases sanctions to allow routine transactions with Afghan government. Oh, that's so funny. So now we're endorsing the Taliban and their new Afghanistan government when they killed thousands of our troops when we tried attacking Afghanistan. And yeah, isn't that pretty funny? We're just in a war with them, but now we're easing sanctions, though. We're getting rid of sanctions. And that really just tells me that this war with Afghanistan was just a big money making scheme, buying and selling weapons, bringing weapons to Afghanistan to fight. And now, oh, they're best friends with the Taliban that maybe they probably helped create in the first place to start the fighting. Uh, and now we're seeing the same thing in the Ukraine. Now they're making, a lot of money selling all these weapons, these big military contracts, multi-million dollars, sending all these weapons to Ukraine for a new war. And they're saying there's sanctions now, but that'll probably be lifted in 2 days as well. And they're not going to be actually very good sanctions in the first place. So all I have to say is that this U.S. government and all these wars is just baloney. It's just a way to make money, and they'll lift these sanctions. I'm certain, and these sanctions aren't very good in the first place, and it just doesn't make any sense because it's just all a global plan. They want these wars to make money. Both sides, they both get a lot of money. Big corporations actually fund the war on both sides. We actually first saw this with the Napoleonic Wars. They're actual big banks. They funded both sides of the war. So we're going to be seeing the same exact thing because all these banks are interconnected. They're not taking Russia off this SWIFT program for the reasons I just discussed because this is all phony. So the American people should be outraged of what's going on because this is basically wasting American money, wasting Ukrainian lives, which is a really sad thing, and wasting Russian lives. It's basically all a big thing just to make money. It's a terrible thing. It's time for us and the people around the world to take back their government from these oligarchs. It's time for good people who are not willing to take money from big corporations or lobbyists to run for office, to take and win the office. And for all the voters out there, anyone who takes money from big corporations or lobbyists doesn't deserve your vote. But because we actually see in places like California that they actually these big corporations and lobbyists fund both sides across the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats in the state legislature, and they vote all the time on bipartisan stuff. So I just wanted to tell you how this war and these sanctions are just a money making scheme. So I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Please share it with your friends. Please follow me on YouTube, Gab, Parlor, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And thank you all for watching. I hope you have all a good day. God bless.